So, okay, today we're going to be doing a pixie cut. And I absolutely love cutting short hair. I feel like it is such a sculpting type of thing that we do. And the closer we get to the head, the more the skull shape comes into play, the more the face shape comes into play. And so I like working with my razor when I'm working with pixies, and I like just kind of creating something new. So with this pixie, what I want to do is I want to assume that she has kind of a flat occipital bone area, and we want to build up volume. Am I saving this live? Yes, I will be saving this live. It will be posted to my channel. So no worries on that. But we're going to assume that she has kind of a flat occipital bone area that we want to build up a little bit of volume. And so what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be doing what I call borrowing a smile. So I'm going to be taking a little bit from the bottom and adding it to the top. And actually, I think I might do a V section instead. So I'll start by clipping up the top, dividing the top from the bottom, and I consider this to be something I call pots and lids. So the top is like the lid, and underneath is the pot. So what are we going to do underneath? And then what are we going to do on top? With a flatter occipital bone area, what I want to do is I want to build some graduation and some fullness into that area. So I'm actually going to take a V section, so we protect this area, and I'll add this kind of to the top. So I'll show you that in just a second. So just clipping that up. I would love to know what questions you guys have about short hair. Is there anything that you would love for me to address or talk about? And where are you, razor? There you are. If I can, I will inside of this. So can everybody see my mannequin okay? I think I have her up high enough. One of the difficulties of this is many times I have my mannequin down too low. So we're going to be working with my razor. And so what I want to do is I want to make sure that I'm locking down on my razor. So making sure that I'm holding on tight so that I can work my comb, flip my comb around, and not have my razor flopping all over the place. So we're going to start with a central vertical section, and then I'm going to work my way out. And I like to work the underneath, okay. I'm going to be working a square line. And I just had somebody ask about how do you keep your guide? And I always consider it to be something I call divide and conquer, and also keeping sections very clean. If your sections are not clean, it is very difficult to hold on to your guide. And with short hair, you have to take a little bit smaller sections than you do with long hair. So with this, I'm coming in, and I'm going to create a nice soft edge. By cutting square, it avoids taking off the bottom. One of the things I've found is very common is people come in and they'll cut the bottom off before they do any layering. And what that does is it creates a hard line that then is very difficult to soften. So I'm going to use a traveling guide, meaning I'm taking one section, then I'm going to move over, take a little bit of my previous section, add again half as much, and work on my guide. So I'm sliding just past my guide and razoring down. And I'm using a relatively open stroke, which means that I'm going to have a soft edge. Hairlines, when hair grows upward, shave it off or leave it. Okay, so yeah, if somebody has a crazy hairline and it's growing up, many times I'll remove the underneath and leave extra length over the top if you want a soft edge on your cut. It is hard. So sometimes people want what they just can't have, which, is difficult, but we have to be realistic. And sometimes they do want a soft hairline and it grows straight up, and it just doesn't work. So maybe they would need to have a little bit of weight left over the top, or, it depends on the hairline. So I have people asking if I'm a lefty. No, I'm not. I think when I do lives, I think that it reverses things. I'm right-handed. There's a wonderful left-handed stylist in London named Ben Brown. And if you're looking for a lefty to follow, because sometimes it's easier to see someone in your realm, if you're left-handed, definitely check him out. It's Ben Brown, and he does some of the most beautiful, beautiful work. Okay, so I'm continuing around the head, and I've started to over-direct back. What this is going to give me, it's going to give me some softness as the hair travels forward. So I'm sliding past my guide. I can see my guide really clearly. And I know I won't get to all of your questions because, oh yeah, because it's, the scrolling stops and then I can't see what I'm working on. So I'm going to have to just kind of grab a couple of the questions. Okay, so you can see I've slid past my guide and I'm using an open stroke, which is creating this nice, soft edge as the hair travels forward. I'll work on the other side now. You can see how pretty that is. Just going to sit in there really nice. Okay, so working. Now I'm at the New York Academy for Cow Corporation, and we are teaching the Synergy program. And the Synergy program is a wonderful cutting program that I got to work with 5 other artists from the US and Canada. And I just saw DDA, you just joined. And we created a cutting program that is very modern. And it takes all of the classics, but applies them in a very salon-friendly and modern way. So you guys would love it. We're on tomorrow's day 3. So we've been here for a little bit. Okay, I'm keeping my elevation 90 degrees from the back of the head and keeping my cutting line square. So I'm not allowing the hair to drop down and my elevation to drop, because that would give me maybe a little more weight than I wanted. When I get up into this V section, this is where I'll be dropping my elevation a little bit because I want to keep that fullness in the hair. Just coming through, I'm over directing back slightly now. I love cutting with the razor because it gives me the softness and my line all at once, especially on short hair like this. I think it's really nice to have soft, short hair. Keep going. Getting around to this side area where I start over directing back to my previous. Okay, do you cut with wet hair or slightly damp? This is actually wet hair. And with a razor, I like cutting with wet hair because the razor just glides through the hair a lot easier. Today, we actually covered some razor cutting techniques inside of the program. And I got to listen to my teammate, Claire Malarkey, and she is a brilliant razor cutter. And I learned so much. I was like, wow, I did not know. I had no idea some of the things you're talking about. So it was fun to be someone who got to learn as well as teach. So here we go. Moving around to that last section behind the ear and over directing back to my previous. Whenever we over direct the hair back, we'll get more movement and softness as the hair travels forward. Somebody just asked what I think of the calligraphy razor. I've never used it, so I really don't know. I've heard about it. It sounds pretty cool, but I honestly don't have an opinion because I haven't used it. Okay, just cross-checking, making sure my sides are balanced. Okay, and you can see just that softness all the way around. Oh, I see Brazil is joined. We've got people from all over the world. Welcome. Okay, now I always like to finish pretty much the entire bottom section. So we were talking about pots and lids. So I like to finish the underneath first before I move into that top area. Where am I teaching? Okay, what is the name of the school? It's not actually a school. It's an academy, and it is called KAO, K-A-O. And it is the umbrella company for Goldwell and KMS and Orbe. So, and Carasilk. Someone asked, do I ever use a razor with the guard on it? And I will use a razor with the guard on it, but I find I have a lot better control with my razor. I've got a great question. What is the difference between the IQ cutting method, which was the previous KMS cutting method, and the Synergy system? Inside of IQ, which was our previous cutting program, we worked with almost all cause and effect. You never really did a full haircut. In this one, we work with cause and effect, but we do full haircuts, and we've combined their Master Stylist program and the IQ cutting method into something completely new. So it's actually a wonderful cutting program. And there's also a styling program that I thought, okay, I've styled hair for, however many years. I know how to style hair. And I took the pilot program. I was blown away. I just thought, if anybody was coming out of school or even just wanted to refresh their styling, blow drying, iron work, it's a brilliant, brilliant program. You go from everything from how to control root direction, all the way through how to create glamour waves. It's nice. And that's a 2-day program. Yes, 2-day program. And the classes are available both in the New York Academy and the Toronto Academy up in Canada. And then also, I believe, Sydney, either this year or next year. I'm not quite sure. So, but it's definitely available in the US, in New York, and in Toronto. Okay, so I over-directed my sections slightly back so you can see that development of length around the front. I can choose to remove some of that when I'm done, or I can go in and maybe thin it out, accentuate it, really make it wispy. Either way would be fine. Okay, so now I'm going to begin over-directing just slightly back as I move into the side area again. Trying to catch your guys' questions as they come by. I'm sorry if I miss them. I'll answer them in the comments later if I can find them. One important thing when you're working with the razor is the sliding past your guide. You can't cut behind your finger. I mean, you can a little bit, but not very much. We always cut with the razor. We're cutting behind our fingers on the outside of our knuckles, not on the inside. So over-directing that back. Now, inside of my Sharp Scissor Society, which is my membership program, we're working on a whole series of disconnection right now for the last quarter of the year. This is the last month of it, actually. So I'm going to be showing a little bit of disconnection on this cut. It'll come through the top. And disconnection will give you so many different things. It gives you movement. It gives you the ability to create fullness or reduce fullness. And it all depends on the technique that you're using. Are you working with graduation? Are you working with layering? Because layering is always going to remove weight and will collapse your shape. And graduation, where you're working shorter underneath to longer on top, will help build volume for you. Do I have wavy hair? Yes, I have very, very slight wave. I did throw an iron curl right here, but like this is more my natural wave. It's just a little bit. And I have a tutorial that I did while I was in Italy last month. And it shows my whole process. I don't blow dry it. I just kind of apply my products, my perfecting lotion from KMS, which helps increase the curl. And then I twist it with a bristle brush. And then I let it air dry. Okay. And I have relatively, I wouldn't say super fine hair, but I don't have a ton of hair. I'm just a little bit long over here. Take a touch more off. And then the underneath will be done. There. Check that balance. Okay. And she's almost dry. Yeah. Okay, so now we have this really nice soft shape that I'll be tucking in a little bit. I'll be removing a little bit of hair here, showing you a V-section disconnection so that if your client has some hair and it gets a little bit too thick right over the ears, or maybe they have glasses and the hair sticks out, this really will help. So dropping that V-section. This is where you're going to get the fullness from the occipital bone area. So I'm going to work with a little bit lower elevation, about a 45-degree elevation, and I'm going to point into this with my razor. It's going to be slightly disconnected, and then I'll move into the top. So the area of disconnection that I'm working on right now is the occipital bone area, which is going to give me the ability to build some fullness into the hair. Okay, so I'm going to take diagonal section. Turn so you guys can see that. Okay, and now watch the stroke that I'm using. I'm going to change the way that I'm working with my razor, if I can get in there. Okay. So instead of working across the head like this, I'm going to turn and work on top so that I can create almost channels into the hair. I don't know if you can see that or not. Let me over here. And then I'll cut my length. So I'm cutting kind of channels into the hair, and then I'm working the length. What this is doing for me is it's giving me a lot of texture, so it won't look super bulky or thick on top, and it'll help build up that volume. Taking another diagonal section, cutting my little channels in, and then my length. And you can see how that's starting to build up just a little bit of volume in the hair. Okay, they all stopped, so let me go in here. Uh-oh, there we go. Let's see. I'm holding the razor in my right hand. I'm right-handed. I think that this gives a mirror image of what's happening. Okay, what is my favorite KMS product? That's hard. I probably think Playable Texture because I use that all the time for texture on my clients. Oh, hey there, Vinny. Vinny helped us today at Your Hair Sucks. He was the most amazing assistant today. Is this going to be on your education? I need to go shampoo my first. The finish. This will actually be on my regular page, so you'll be able to view this again and see the finished result on my feed. Okay. All right. Taking that diagonal section, combing the hair perpendicular to my part, and then going in and starting pretty much where my guide is underneath and working out and then across. So there is little disconnection, but not very much. This is done in maybe 3 sections, 2 sections. Okay, there's my little channels and then length. I love your energy. Thank you. It was a long day. I've got to build up the energy here. Okay. And then those channels, then length. So we're building that texture and movement into our shape right from the beginning. Got a little length there. Let's get rid of that. And then we should be relatively balanced, almost with a point in the back. Got a little bit of extra length here. Let's see. Okay. So you can see how that's kind of cupping around the occipital bone area. So what I did was I went in underneath and I created a square line. And what that square does is it gives a base for volume. It helps build up because when you place a square on a round surface, I'll go this way. When you place a square line on a round surface, what you get is more length on top, more length on the bottom. So you're getting softness on the bottom and a buildup of volume at the top. Okay. So I'm liking that. I'm liking the way that that's feeling. It's kind of one of those long shortcuts or a short long cut where it has a little bit more movement to it. Where am I based? I am in Spokane, Washington, USA. I'm actually in New York right now teaching, but I live in Spokane, Washington, all the way on the West Coast. Okay, here we go for the top. Let me see if there's any other questions I can answer really quick. Whoops. No, go away. There we go. Oopsie. No. Okay. Thanks, Brooke. Oh, hi, Brooke. How are you? Good to see you. Hey, can you cut this on very curly hair? Yes, absolutely. And maybe not very curly, but definitely curly hair you could. And what's the best texture for this haircut? I always love just a very slight amount of wave. But this can be done on a lot of different textures because it is so soft. And I would adjust if it were curly hair. You might leave it a little bit longer. You might use your scissors instead of your razor. Would be fine. Okay. Now in the back, I'm going to continue my diagonal back sections. I just made that determination. So I'm going to go ahead and take my diagonal back sections, and I'm going to pull that directly on top of the line. I'm going to keep it relatively low because I want a lot of length in through this top area. Then in the front, I'm going to work long as well. We'll just play with it. I said Pixie, but it's going to be a little longer than a Pixie. So here we go. I've got my elevation right at 45 degrees. Taking a diagonal section. I'll do a little bit of texture, maybe every other one. Just because you're texturizing in one area doesn't mean you have to texturize everything. You can change what you're doing when you're working with the razor. You can change it really rapidly. So I cut the channels in, and now I'm coming in and removing the length. I'm curious, do you guys cut a lot of short hair, or do you cut more like longer hair? I know that a lot of people cut a lot of long hair right now because there's such a demand for it with all of the beautiful color that everyone is doing. You know, the balayage, the foils, all of that. There's a lot of long hair. But I've found through so many comments, and maybe if you're not a hairstylist, you're a client, you might chime in here. But there aren't that many people that actually cut short hair. I've got Jet Serrano there, Serrano, that cuts a lot of hair, a lot of short hair. So there are some people that specialize in short hair. I know that the guy that I was just working with, he lives on Long Island. His name is Vinny, and his Instagram is Your Hair Sucks, or Your Hair Sucks, or SUKS, and he does a ton of short hair and is amazing. Okay, so just working this same way. Okay, I cut more short hair. Good. I'm glad I'm seeing some people that are cutting some short hair, because for a long time there were none. Okay, yeah, I love cutting short hair too. And it dries so much faster. You don't have to work quite as hard, which is nice. Continuing with those diagonal sections. I love playing with the pattern pieces and the different shapes we can make when we're cutting short hair. It's very hard. Yeah. She has Jets, I think it's Serrano. I apologize for butchering it, but she said she has a lot of short clientele, and they always say that it's hard to find someone to cut short hair. And I would agree with that. I get a lot of people that just say the same things, like I can never find anyone to cut short hair. And I don't work behind the chair that much anymore, only like 2 times a month. I spend most of my time educating and traveling. And so a lot of my clients they don't love me so much when I can't cut their hair. Okay. Okay. I'm kind of digging that. Got some nice volume going on. And once again, I said I'm going to take this a little bit shorter down underneath once the hair is dry. I always like to do my finish work once the hair is dry, because it tends to be a little bit softer. Okay, so on the top here, let's do this. Let's see. Okay, let it down just a little bit. I'm going to be working across the top of the head. And I think I'm going to work from short to long. So I'll work from the crown. Actually, I'll probably cut a square because this will be a little bit too long. So we're here. And I'm going to work up with my razor. Maybe opening up my stroke just a little bit so it has a lot of movement. I don't want that comb anymore. I want this comb. Okay. And with a razor, you want to make sure you're working with relatively small sections. If you work with too big of sections, you have to use a lot of pressure on the hair. And you have a tendency then to cut the hair, cut through the hair and maybe into yourself. So I'm working with the razor a little bit differently than I used to. One thing I learned today from Claire was that there's a sharp and a dull side on your actual razor blade. I just thought it was all sharp after all these years. So I've always spun my razor around and worked up, and I just did it the other way, which is going this way, which is using the same side of the blade that I would have been using anyway when I was working with the hair in a downward position, and it does feel sharper. So I'm going to keep going like that. I'm going to go here, and I'm going to just go this way. Yeah. Okay, that is interesting. I feel like it's sharper that way. Has anybody else ever heard of that? That there's a dull and a sharp side to your razor? I would love to know. Okay, somebody just asked how often I change my blade. Every haircut. Every haircut. Nothing is worse than a dull blade. Okay. Interesting position. Why not cut away from yourself? Well, this is kind of away from yourself. But I also will do this way. This way it doesn't feel quite as sharp. I think it's because of the side of the blade. Okay, I finally used your technique for cutting on the roots for less volume, my channel cutting. And what was the result? How did you like it? Ah, you worked with the barber and he told you this. And I would think a barber would know because they shave, you know. But it makes a little bit of a difference. I'm pretty pleasantly surprised. Okay, I'm going to continue working. What comb is the long one? This is the YS Parks 335 comb in the caramel color. And we do have these on our website, seriousbeauty.com. And that website is actually getting, should I say, absorbed by my new website, which will be sonobredo.com. So that'll be in the next week or so. Okay, continuing with my pivoting sections. There was something about a disposable razor. Also, we use to sharpen our razors, yeah. And I think there are still some people that do sharpen their razors, but I think using a disposable razor is much more common now. Okay, this way, getting confused. It cuts so much easier than the other way. Brilliant. Just brilliant. I love it. Okay, just working through, finishing this out. A few more, and then I'll be blow drying it. And when I'm blow drying, I'm going to be just kind of draping it back and forth. There'll be a little more volume and maybe length than I want, and I'll do some texturizing and finish work with maybe my texturizers or my my regular scissors, my angel blades. This is my angel blade razor, and it is available on the site. And the razor is 160, and it comes with a pack of disposable blades, the plie. I learned why it's called plie too. I learned so much today. Okay, so the plie, because it bends like this, and it's like a ballerina plie. I thought that was cool. I did not know this. So many things to learn. Okay, I'm almost there. Let's see, I switched back. This way. It's a little more awkward for me, but I'm going to try it. What style am I going for? This is kind of almost like a little Pixie-ish. I'm going to blow dry it and do some, you know, like maybe do a fringe. I'll do a fringe off the front. I might do that before it's blow dried. But right here, I really wanted to show some disconnection. And this is disconnected. So we have the shorter underneath and the longer on top. Disconnection doesn't have to be aggressive. It can be very soft and very purposeful. I think I'm liking that. I'm just going to lighten this edge up just a little bit so it doesn't look too heavy and bulky. And then let's do a little fringe so we have some short area in the front. Okay, I think that's kind of cute. Same thing on the other side. I feel like I could, well, I'll probably take off a little bit of this in the middle and leave some softness on the edges. I like developing my cuts as I go, as opposed to having, you know, like a set cut that I'm going for. I know where I want to add fullness. I know where I want to collapse the shape usually, but many times I change midway, depending on what the hair is telling me. I call it reading the hair. and reading the client and, you know, what the skull shape feels like. So let's see here. It's annoying. Let's go. I'm going to do a little side swept fringe on this. I feel like the curtain fringes are always so beautiful, but let's do something a little bit different, shall we? For once. Let's go with a curtain, or not a curtain fringe, but a side swept fringe over the left eye. So I'm going to be working, I want all this to all blend in. So this fringe is going to be blended with everything else, as opposed to being like a separate little piece. So we will come in, and I'll take my parting. If I want it to swing towards the left eye, excuse me, towards the right eye, then all my partings are going to be pointed at that right eye. So I'm coming from high on the left-hand side to low on the right-hand side. So it's pointing at the eye. I'm going to come in here. I'm going to go a little bit shorter than what that is. And we're over directing to the left eye, which is going to then push to the right. So this is going to be a very soft razored fringe. Next section. And I'll use a guide that is stationary. We probably won't have very much to cut, but just a little bit now. I'm using the heel of my razor. So the heel is the bottom, the toe is the top. And the reason that I do that is because if I were to go in and use just the tip of the razor here, look how much is exposed to the client. That's very dangerous. So what we want is we want the majority of the blade to be away from the client's face, neck, whatever. It looks like I'll probably be out of hair now. Yep, none of it really reaches. So a little side swept, and I'll just connect it on this right-hand side. So we have just a touch of asymmetry going on in there. Okay. All right, I'm going to go ahead and blow dry this. I'll check and see what other comments are on here. Can you demonstrate the other way? Going to the other side? I don't know. Okay. Disposable products. Yeah, I would love learning too. Yeah, it's a fluid plan for sure. Go away. Oh, there we go. It definitely is not anything super structured. Okay, this is a little bit of a blow dry spray called Shaping Blow Dry. And this will help just give a little bit of control to the hair. I'm standing in so much hair right now, it's crazy. Okay. So as I said, we're inside of Sharp Scissor Society. What we're doing right now is we are covering disconnection. And disconnection can be used in so many different ways. It creates softness. My blow dryer is cold. I don't want that. I want it hot. There we go. It creates softness, separation, movement. There we go. Okay, as I'm blow drying this, I'm working the air in the direction I want the hair. So I don't necessarily want to get a lot of lift, so I don't have the air turned up and lifting the root area. It's kind of traveling forward. My salon is in Spokane, Washington. So I'm from the West Coast. Now this is a Veris blow dryer. So I want volume in the crown and the occipital area, so you notice I turn the air up. So it's just a matter of working with the different areas of the head with purpose. Okay, continuing to move around. And I like to do most of my styling with my hands. I don't know about you guys, but I feel like clients don't use the brushes quite as much as we might. And if you can help them style their hair just with their hands, it really provides value. But many times people have you ever noticed that people have specific ways they move their hair? Like let's say they were in the 90s and they want their hair to kind of come around their face. They don't have any concept of like a different way to style. It's their hands are trained to move. And if we can help train their hands, we can give them different looks. Because you can style, I mean, I could probably style this to look like it came out of the 70s. It's just a matter of changing things up for your guest. Okay, here we go. Yeah. When you use your hands, I feel like you can get tension where you want it. You can ruffle that root area and control root direction. I'm liking this side foot fringe, kind of that opening around the one eye. Okay, remember I'm going to show you the little area right around the ear. I call these V sections, and the sections help give you area that you can tuck the hair if you need to. Am I ever going to be... I asked myself that question as well. Somebody just commented, will I ever be comfortable with that type of razor? The key to it, and I was never comfortable using this type of razor. I wasn't. And then I took a class from Nick Arrojo, actually, who's just a brilliant razor cutter. And what he showed me was this, and I almost cut myself. Open the razor and then do a peace sign. And then hold like this, and then you have to lock down. So you have to hold the razor right here so that your comb can be in these fingers. Okay? And then when you go to cut, you transfer and use it like this. Then when you go to grab the razor and the comb again, you lock down and you re-grab. So it really is all about how you hold it, because if you don't hold it properly, it can do some damage. Okay, so I'm just draping this around. Don't worry, I'll let her see in just a minute. And underneath, I'm just going to use my Denman. I just want to control that root area, smooth it out just a little bit. Hello, lady under there. If you're trying to get a smooth look, the Denman is always really a beautiful brush to use. I felt like it was expanding just a little bit too much, probably because of the all of the color that's been on this little lady. Okay, we have just a little bit more to go. And I usually will use the brushes more towards the end so that I can just get a nice polish on the hair. So I'll go ahead and use a little bit of the round brush in the crown because I do want a little bit of that lift and fullness in the occipital bone area. And then if I'm going to use the round brush in through these sides, just for polish, I don't really want to crank that brush in there. I just want to have a little bit of smoothness. I'm using it more to smooth than anything else. I think that product selection is so important for styling. If you get something in here that's going to be just like a really rough texture, it's not going to style out well. So I'm going from New York, and I'm going to be going to Ireland for a few days. We're headed to Dublin, my husband and I, just for fun. I won't be working or taking appointments. Okay, so I'm looking forward to lightening this up and creating some space in that fringe area. This hair is bleached, and so it does take a little bit to get dry. That's okay. Okay, thank you for all you guys that have stuck with me through the blow dry. I always say that watching someone blow dry is like watching paint dry sometimes. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. All right. Make sure yeah, I'm always like looking for my razor. Where did I put it? I need to make sure it's safe. Because most of the time when we cut ourselves, we're not even cutting hair. You're like just, you know, it's sitting on your station. Okay. I'll erase her back up. Okay, let's work in this back area first. Yeah. Okay, so I left a little bit of length in through that crown and occipital bone area with that V section. Now what I'm going to do is I want to reduce a little bit of the bulk underneath here, but keep kind of the softness. So I'm going to be working from the inside out with my texturizers. Now these are 40 tooth, and if you watch really closely here, what I like about these is I like that I can come in, cut, and then just slide through. So I just come in, cut all the way, and then slide through. What this does is it gives me like a little channel of texture. And it really will narrow out and make the shape a lot softer. So I'm working from the inside out, closing, and then sliding. And then when I come to the other side, well, look at the difference in the two. Look at how much that just kind of shaped it in and gave it a nice, pretty silhouette. So now when I'm coming here, I can't continue the same way because short pushes long. So I want to work from the inside out. That's the direction that I'm going. So when you're working with the texturizer like this, make sure you close before you move. You don't want to be moving as you're closing. And I'm staying underneath where I had that V section. So I'm just trying to collapse this area a little bit, but keep it nice and soft. Maybe a little bit could come off down here. Let's work up. When I'm trying to remove length, I'm working up. When I'm removing bulk, I'm working out from the inside out. A little bit extra bulk here. Okay. Now for the V section. See how much prettier that is now? Lower her down just a touch. So we have that fullness in the occipital bone and it tucks down nicely underneath. Okay, I know I've got some more questions here. Okay, well, I can't get at them. Okay, the V section that I love to do is going to be placed right above the ear area. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to create a little hole in the hair that will allow the hair to move around it and also give some space. I call this the spare room. So go in with a V. I'm going right over the ear. Clip that out of the way on the other side. The key to this is you have to make sure that when the hair closes back down over the top of this V section, that it covers it. You don't want to cut a big hole in the side of someone's head. I'll come in here, and I could point cut this. I'm going to use my texturizers and be very aggressive and remove that hair. Working on the length. And then fullness. And you can see how aggressive that is, but also how soft it is. That's why I love using my blenders for that. Okay, now let's take a look at this. So we take that down, and then we allow this to just come back down over the top. And so you have a little, almost a peekaboo area right at the ear where you can see through. It becomes a little bit more transparent and not so thick. I feel like this could have a little softness. This is all about the tailoring of the cut. Anyone can do a standard cut, right? But it takes an artist to go in and actually, personalize things. A little bit too thick right here. I've had people ask me, well, do your clients mind when you do this, or do you ask them first? No. I mean, I'm designing something for them. As long as I know the direction I want to go, I don't usually ask permission to to cut the hair. I know where I want to go with it. I think that's looking good. So let's take a different look between the difference of that side and this side. Okay. Both of them look fine. Both of them look great. I like the side that has a little bit more of a see-through element to it. So I don't know if I want to do it on both sides. Let's see here. Actually, it looks kind of cool asymmetric, doesn't it? I'm going to leave it. I'm going to just work this side, and I told you I changed direction midstream. I'm going to work this side and work across this side swept fringe and maybe open this up a little bit more. Kind of like the way that that's feeling. Okay, so when you're wanting the side swept fringe to kind of stay off to the side, okay, somebody just said, I don't know that I see this for curly hair. It wouldn't look the same. I wouldn't do these same techniques, but the general shape can work. It wouldn't be super curly though. It'd be more wavy. Where can I buy this tripod? This is a pivot point tripod, and it's actually really nice. It has like numbers on the legs that you can actually lower up and down and make it even, which is always a hard thing. Okay, so as I'm working my texturizers across this edge, if I want it to sweep to the side, once again, I'm going to work from short to long, and I'm going to catch this edge and just go right along that line, right like that. Okay. So that kind of cups and stays over to the side a little bit more. And I said I wanted to open this up, so let's go. It's one of my little tricks. I want to take a V section right where the part is, so right over that eye. And then, go like this so you can see, I'm going to elevate, because whenever we elevate the hair, we create a lot of softness. And then let's do this. So I'm leaving the length, but I'm really shearing it out. And see how much that opened up that area. Yes, I will be saving this. It'll be on my, what is it called, feed. Yeah. Okay. I want this to be a little bit less bulky, so just really working that. And this is all a part of that personalizing element. So we're really working with a little bit of asymmetry. Have you guys seen any asymmetry coming back in? I've always liked working with asymmetry. I think it's pretty on most face shapes. And we're never exact anyway, so okay, I'm going to lift this up and do a little bit of detailing. Actually, I want to remove a little bit more than what this will do, my texturizers. So I'm going to go in with the carve-in slide, and these are a traditional, like a dry cutting scissor. I just oiled them. Let me get that off of there. They're more of a dry cutting scissor, but I use them on wet all the time, especially on curly hair. So if you look real close at that, you can see that the blade actually curves out and in like this. And so it doesn't cut a straight line. It pushes the hair, which is really nice when you're wanting that softness. So let me see, getting close here. Okay. I'm going to work right across the top, and you can see how that just pushes the hair. So creating little areas of short to long. One right here. And I just love how that softens up the shape and removes a lot of weight out of it. Let's see. Now, on this side, I want to go short to long. I'm going to go the opposite direction. Yeah, I'm not thinning right now. I'm just working with carving. So I want this to push the opposite direction. Just a little bit there. Okay, yep, these are part of my Angel Blades collection. Thank you, Brenda. I didn't even tell you guys what they are. These are part of my Angel Blades collection, and you can find them at my website, seriousbeauty.com. It's also in my on my profile in the shop button. And they're the carve and slides. Okay, just a little bit of the dry wax. And I use a lot of texture products when the hair is dry because I feel like it really brings out the movement in the hair. So we'll just kind of put a little bit of this on. Uh-oh, that's not spraying. Come back. There we go. Kind of like when clients bring in their product and they're like, it doesn't work. And all you do is run it under the, the faucet. Okay. Okay, so this has a couple of different areas of disconnection. There's a little bit of disconnection in the crown area, so right above the occipital bone, right here. And it's not very much, but it's like just this little area right there over the top of the underneath that we took a little bit tighter. So we have that buildup of volume in the occipital bone area. Then I did the V section, which is disconnected underneath the length that's coming from the top. So there's a couple of different areas of disconnection and separation in the hair. I just want to get that a little bit, feels a little too bulky. There we go. Okay, so there we have it, you guys. A disconnected Pixie Dixie something. So thank you so much for joining me, and I hope you guys have a wonderful holiday. And I will see you probably in the new year. I might do another live, you never know. So you guys have a great week. Bye-bye.